Hey guys, welcome back to Games of War. Holy shit, it's good to be back. I'm sure the first question on many of your minds is, dude, where the hell have you been? I gotta say, in my life, when it rains, it pours. These past few months have been filled with court fines, court dates, and eventually what is happening now is I have to move out of my home by June 30th, all because of my breed of dog. I own a dog, his name is Monkey. He's my best friend. I will not abandon him or turn my back on him. So therefore, I have to move out of my condo June 30th. It's been a huge pain in the ass. Now, if you follow me on social media like Facebook or Instagram, you've probably seen pictures of Monkey. I love him. I got him when he was like 2 months old. This condo association has a problem with dogs over 25 pounds. And when they found out he was a pit bull, a lady snuck into my backyard, took a picture of him, drove to the police station and said there's a pit bull scaring the neighbors and terrorizing the neighborhood. Bottom line, they came and gave me a ticket, and we've gone back and forth, gone to court. I had to pay out the ass for a lawyer. I had to pay to get him registered as a service dog, an emotional support animal. Fast forward to now, after about $2,000 have sunk into him. I'm just not going to fight it anymore. I'm not going to continue this legal battle. I'm going to move out. I have till June 30th. It's got to the point where I've actually had to go and, I hate to say this, I've had to sell a few games here and there just to get some extra money. But Games of War will be coming back stronger than ever. I'm going to move out into a new place where I have a yard with a fence where Monkey can run around. I cannot abandon my best friend, my animal. So that's where I've been at. A lot of people have said, oh, start a GoFundMe, start a, whatever, raise some money. I can't ask anybody for any more money. I've already opened up a Patreon, and I feel really bad about that because I have not been coming through with extra content. But I want to thank you all for sticking around. I'm going to sell some games. I'm going to raise some money. I'm going to get the hell out of here, get a new condo, get a new game room, new and improved, better than ever, and the show will continue. I really want to thank you guys for sticking around. It means the world to me. Let's go ahead and get started on today's episode. I'm going to try to film as many episodes as I can before moving out of here. I got to start packing and tearing this room down. And I'd like to do like a final room tour before I leave this place for good. Alright guys, so today's episode is going to be focused on the 3DS, as if you can't tell. I most recently picked up Sushi Strikers, and one of the things that struck me about this that has been this way with the last couple of releases is right down here in the bottom of the game, playable in 2D only. Playable in 2D only. I've just got to accept the facts that the 3DS is no more. We're not going to get any more 3D games. I have to accept it, stop bitching and complaining, and move on. Now, it's really funny that 3D, for me, really hit big when Avatar came out. I remember Avatar came out in the theater. It was 3D done right, blew everyone away. Everybody was talking about Avatar 3D, and it just seems like exploded. The 3D craze exploded after that. All movies were in 3D. Gaming was going the way of 3D with Sony and the PlayStation 3 offering that badass little 3D TV, which I purchased and I own still to this day. It looks really good. But 3D was everywhere. It was all the buzz, all the rage, where everything was 3D. Now Nintendo sensed this 3D mania in the air, and they went ahead and went full systems go with the 3DS. Now 3D, really interestingly enough, just seems to have hit a brick wall and died. 3D was like 2009 to 2012, I'd say. It hit a brick wall and it just seemed to die. Now there's still 3D movies in the theaters, but 3D in terms of gaming is just dead. Now it's VR, which seems to be fading as well. But 3D was a big deal back in that circa 2009, 2011, 12, and the 3DS was born. Now, I have said before in the past, and I still stand by this, if the 3DS would have came out with the face tracking abilities of the new 3DS right away, I think it'd be a lot different story, because the original model just had to hold it perfect, and it just turned so many people off due to that, keeping the screen perfectly still. If they would have launched with the new 3DS from the get-go, the face tracking, I think we'd be singing a different tune in terms of 3D. Now, instead of being negative and focusing on how bad I hate that there's no more 3D games, and fingers crossed, I hope Luigi's Mansion is in 3D, because if you think back, the GameCube was 3D compatible. They wanted to go 3D then, and Luigi's Mansion was done in 3D. So it's a very good assumption that Luigi's Mansion will hopefully make good on that early dream from Nintendo and be in 3D, but I can't say for sure. I'm all but positive the Mario Bowser's Inside Story is going to be 2D only, but we'll see. Fingers crossed on Luigi's Mansion. But instead of focusing on the negative and how much it sucks that the 3DS is dead in terms of 3D, I thought we would celebrate the top or best looking games in 3D on the 3DS. Looking back, it was really kind of a magic time around the launch of the 3DS. I remember thinking to myself, man, how is glasses-free 3D going to work? I wasn't sure how they were going to pull it off, or if it would even look good, or it was a big mystery to me. I was really excited to see the initial games in 3D on the 3DS, and I kind of had heard rumblings that there were some demo units in Best Buy at the time of launch, and I said to myself, you know what, I don't want to play it. I want to save that to a special occasion for when I pick it up on launch, because I had it pre-ordered. I said, I'm not going to go and play it anywhere. I just want to wait for the day it comes out, get home and play it and discover that magic for the first time in the comfort of my own home. I went to Best Buy like a week before it came out, and I'll be goddamned if there wasn't a demo unit sitting there. And this little kid walked away, and I kind of looked at it, and it was, oh shit, what do I do? I ended up playing it in Best Buy that day, and the game was Pilot Wings that was on demo, and I remember playing it and just being completely blown away by the 3D and the way it actually worked. It didn't really bother me about the angle at first. I was just so stunned that the 3D looked as good as it did, and it actually worked, and it was really impressive, man. I remember it was just a great 45-minute play session in Best Buy that day. So on the launch, I remember Toys R Us had a deal where if you buy one, get one half off. So I myself chose Pilot Wings and Steel Diver, and then my son Zach bought Street Fighter with the special lenticular cover and Ridge Racer. And I remember Pilot Wings was a great introduction to 3D. You guys know Pilot Wings. They're not the most incredibly deep games around, but they're a great showpiece for the hardware, which they always have been since the Super Nintendo. I thought the Pilot Wings 3D was very impressive. It looked really good. My personal favorite was Steel Diver. I thought that was a really great game. It didn't do the best in terms of reviews, and the overall opinion of Steel Diver varies from person to person, but I really fell in love with Steel Diver. The 3D wasn't the most impressive thing in the world, but it was a great submarine game. I'm a sucker for underwater games. Probably the most impressive of the launch was definitely Street Fighter 4. Just a really cool over-the-shoulder 3D mode that you could play in that looks impressive to this day. An amazing game, an amazing fighter. Cool to have it portable in your hands, and it's awesome to have it in 3D that looks this damn good. Ridge Racer also looked fantastic. Overall, pretty weak launch, to be honest, from the 3DS. I did pick up Shadow Wars later on, just through word of mouth, because I wasn't really interested in it, but it does look good in 3D, and it's really a fantastic game. But overall, a lackluster launch, but I still have fond memories of discovering that 3D for the first time. So after the launch lineup, the hype, and everything else had died down with the 3DS, and people started waiting for the next batch of games, any game to come out. It was quite a wait from launch until the game started coming out. The big one that everyone was waiting for was Ocarina of Time 3D. It didn't disappoint. This is a beautiful kind of remake in terms of visuals. It all redone textures. Everything looks beautiful. 3D, super impressive in Ocarina of Time. What seemed like forever to wait was definitely worth it. This is a great example of 3D. If you're looking to see what 3D has to offer in terms of gameplay, definitely check out Ocarina of Time 3D. It did not disappoint. And that goes for the other Zelda games that eventually wound up on the system. Majora's Mask, Triforce Heroes, and A Link Between Worlds. All fantastic uses of 3D. You really can't go wrong if you're looking to be impressed by the 3D on the system with any of the Zelda choices. Fantastic games. So the game that actually made me want a 3DS on day one, because I believe this was originally supposed to be a launch title. It ended up getting delayed and pushed back, and I was really upset by that, but it was still all good. I anticipated the most out of any 3DS game, and that was the return of motherfucking Kid Icarus. I was such a huge fan of the NES original. I beat the game as a kid over and over. I loved the story, the setting, and characters. And Uprising was first game in I think like 25 years or something. It was crazy, but this game did not disappoint. An on-rail shooter with absolutely beautiful 3D. The color palette choice was just amazing in this. The voice acting was great. The on-foot controls were a little wonky. I wish they would have incorporated the new 3DS C-stick in some kind, but overall, this was definitely worth it. The most impressed I had been with 3D up until that point. Kid Icarus Uprising took a while to get here, but it did not disappoint. I loved the game. And I also briefly want to mention Star Fox 64 3D. I believe this snuck in before Zelda hit, and a lot of people were upset that it wasn't like a new Star Fox game, but rather another remake of Star Fox 64, but this was fantastic in the 3D department. It looked great. The 3D just kind of pops off the screen. I really enjoyed this one, playing it again, especially in 3D. Now, a couple of stunners in 3D on the 3DS. Definitely the Kirby games, Planet Robotron and Triple Deluxe. These games are amazing in terms of 3D. With that slider cranked up, man, you can see that shit in the background that just goes way back. It's like a little diorama, like looking into a little alive world. And in certain gameplay stances, Kirby will go into the background, come into the foreground, come back out, and alternate between the two planes. The games just look fantastic in 3D. Everything pops off that screen. The amazing sense of depth is great. If you're looking to be impressed by the 3D, you definitely cannot go wrong with either of the Kirby games on the 3DS. Just top-notch 3D. Another early release that looked fantastic in 3D, Cave Story 3D. This has got that lenticular cover. Another example of the foreground just looking into a little diorama, like a living world. Just totally adding to the gameplay, if you ask me. Cave Story's been around forever. It's been on every platform you can think of, but it was truly a treat to have it in 3D on the 3DS. A great looking game. Now, another couple games that I was really impressed with the 3D effect, and I was surprised because these are just straight up 2D platformers. They're not 2.5D. Shantae and Shovel Knight. What 3D does for games like this is when you crank that slider up, it just gives it that depth, that subtle depth in the background, and it just looks amazing in motion. Both games really benefited from that 3D. It's like that world's come to life as it just scales back in the back, and I just absolutely loved the 3D effect in Shovel Knight and Shantae. Really added to the game for me. Gotta mention how good the Fire Emblem games look in 3D, from the beautiful animated cutscenes in 3D to the strategy RPG gameplay. Now, when you've got that grid and you're looking down in the battlefield, it really pops having the 3D on, and it makes the grid and the strategy movement a lot easier to tell what's going on when you get the 3D. It just makes the world come to life once again. 3D greatly enhances the gameplay. Enjoyed all of these games in 3D for sure. Fire Emblem, you can't go wrong. The Monster Hunter games looked amazing in 3D for sure, with the focus being on these giant monsters, and a lot of times, remember, the glaviness of the tail would like kind of whip at you and kind of come out of the screen, and just some of the fireball effects and these monsters, such detailed, so up close fighting with the 3D on. It really just pops to life once again, the game world. Just having like a little window inside of a living, breathing world where these monsters are alive, and these 3D effects popping out of the screen as they attack you. Absolutely loved playing Monster Hunter in 3D. Now, you guys know me. When I do a top 5 or top 10 video, I do my honorable mentions. It always ends up being a ton of games, and people complain and say, oh, well, this isn't a top 5, this isn't a top. Those were all the honorable mentions, okay? Now, these games here are the real deal. These are the best examples of 3D on the system. Gotta have Super Mario 3D Land. This actually incorporated the 3D. You could choose kind of like a back or pop out. You could switch it on the fly if you wanted it to like scale back the 3D, if you wanted it to pop out of the screen, whichever you choose. Some of the platforming in this with the 3D turned on just really created a new type of platforming experience for me as a whole. Having that 3D, being able to judge in 3D space where those time jumps would be, was just something that was amazing. This was 3D done right. This was showing that 3D had use. It wasn't just a gimmick. 3D in Super Mario World has to be seen to be enjoyed, properly experienced. This is a game that was made for 3D, and I wouldn't play it any other way. Now, these next games are the best use of 3D that I've seen, hands down. Metroid, holy shit, 2.5D done right. This was a living, breathing sci-fi world come to life. You felt like you were looking into a little breathing science fiction world with that 3D turned on in the 3DS. Those 2D environments popped to life. This was around that time when some of the games weren't in 3D, and I was really getting disappointed. And then Metroid hit home with some of the best 3D on the system. Completely changes the gameplay for me. It is just a sight to behold in 3D, top notch. So it should come to no surprise that their previous game, also Mercury Steam, Castlevania on the 3DS, pops to life once again with 2.5D environments. Seeing Dracula's castle in the back with the clouds and everything. 2.5D is so impressive in 3D on the system. I played the entire game with the 3D on in this, and I had a smile on my face the whole time. It is that damn good. Those 2.5D environments pop to life. Very impressive use of 3D. I was completely blown away by how good this looked in 3D. Joining Metroid at the very top of the heap. This is an amazing game. Play this in 3D and thank me later, please. Resident Evil Revelations. Now, this is a masterpiece of a game. This kind of brought Resident Evil back into the forefront for me personally. I just connected with this game right away. And the cool thing about this is you can actually go to the options and you can set the 3D to like a higher level. So you can set it to very strong. And when you crank that 3D slider all the way up and you go into the options and set it to very strong, not knowing what's coming around the corner, and it does, and it's in 3D, it worked wonders for the game. And I refuse to play this in any other system because it wouldn't have the 3D. It just wouldn't be the same game without the effect. Absolutely love this game on the 3DS. One of the best games in the system for sure. The 3D effect is so damn intense and so well done. I had an awesome time playing this. So without a doubt, the best use of 3D on the 3DS comes from Sega themselves. Now, they have got the Collection Volume 1 that was released. They also have the Sega 3D Classics on the eShop. And I cannot explain to you how damn powerful and potent this 3D is. I've actually had to turn down the slider like to halfway position on a few of the titles because the 3D effect is that strong. It literally pops these old games to life. Playing Streets of Rage 2, which is my favorite of the bunch, with the 3D on, and you also have that choice where you can choose like fall into the back or pop out of the screen 3D. Putting that on pop out on Streets of Rage 2, there is nothing finer. Those character models are so detailed and it looks so good on that screen with the 3D on. It's literally like popping out of the screen. It's amazing how good it looks. I don't know what Sega did. M2 worked some wizardry and magic to have these games on this collection and their 3D classics on the eShop look that damn good. Head and shoulders above any other effort in 3D. Only Resident Evil comes close, maybe Castlevania and Metroid, but those are the top tier 3D games on the 3DS, and I could not be more thrilled with how they look. Alright guys, that about wraps it up. I just am really sad to see the 3D go away. They say they want the 3DS to be around for years to come, and it's just a shame that they're kind of placing the 2DS at the forefront and they're kind of getting rid of the 3D. You know, have some faith in this. I know a lot of people were put off by the original model's shitty 3D, but the face tracking works wonders. I absolutely love 3D, and it's really sad to see it go out because I enjoy the feature so much. And I guess it's cool because I've got a ton of titles I can still enjoy in 3D. The Phoenix Wright trilogy is in 3D, so I'm good on that. But it's just a shame to see the effect go by the wayside because 3D was the buzz and all the rage back in 2011 when the system was launched. Not so much now, but there's still a lot of games there to enjoy. So I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video. Like I said, this past month or two has been really chaotic for me. But come June 30th, I'll be out of this house and into a new house with a new game room, a new lease on life, new fresh perspective, and GamezOfWar will be back with a vengeance. I can promise you weekly videos. Moving forward, the channel is going to be something more than it ever has been. I promise you guys this. Thank you for all the continued support. I love you all. GamezOfWar is nothing without you.